Good afternoon, Obi. So you can see that I'm in a black shirt and a black jacket, and I hope you can hear me.
Yes, yes. Very well.
I'm in black because I am very sad. I'm very sad because I have to talk about the cost of corruption on justice and the judicial system. Truth of the matter is that the immensity of the cost of corruption on the justice system, on the judicial system, is best left unimagined. And, Sharon spoke about us being inured to corruption in the country, the impact of corruption. And I guess it's exactly the same thing, because if you take off the clothes of Lady Justice, the symbol of justice that we have, many of us will probably be in a mood that people were in Russia in 1917 and had the Russian Revolution. If you actually get closer to the scales of justice that woman holds, then the curses that Isaiah and Ezekiel pronounced on shepherds that were using false scales will fall upon these people. So, it's a really, really serious problem. Now, a lot has been said about what corruption is. In terms, and I don't want to get into that, I just want to focus largely on the impact. And I'll say a few things. Number one, and most important to me, would be the constitution of the country. The constitution is that which really holds us together as a society. And that constitution, creates three arms of government: executive, judiciary, legislature. They're supposed to be co-equal and independent of each other. But what corruption in the judiciary has done is to abase the constitution and make the constitution a worthless document. And this goes to Shemun's point. It goes to the point that Bismarck made about the economic impact of corruption on our individual lives, because that constitution requires that government should ensure my welfare and requires me as a citizen in Section 24 to perform my civic duties, to make sure that there is dignity in my fellow human being. And so it requires me to treat my fellow citizen, whether I'm a public or private servant, with dignity and to improve the image of the country, and so on and so forth. And we then know of, I don't want to get into what the Constitution says, but the important thing is that our Constitution is not working. And it's not working because the last say on the Constitution is with the judge. It's not with the president. It's not with the legislator. It's with the judge. And what is it that is coming out of the courts? And I'm sure many of us know of many judgments that are absolutely laughable and just bewildering. So that's the very first thing that I see. A constitution that is not working because the judiciary is corrupt. The second thing that I see is that it has made the judiciary an incubator of mediocrity, an incubator of hooliganism, an incubator of theft of the things that we own, either personally or which we have donated to government to use for us. And, so someone spoke about stealing of the roads and of the hospitals and of the life of people and of education. And I'm sure many people will say, how come this is the fault of the judiciary? Well, it is so because they determine ultimately, you would know that the number of, Amechi did not contest elections, but he was a governor. It begins to tell you what happens. The current governor of, I believe, Imo State, more or less the same thing. And so you begin to ask yourself, should the judges be supplanting the will of the people? How can you have a judgment that says that a man that did not contest an election should be the governor? And we all talk of, bad public officers, but they're elected. All those elections end up in the courts, and we know what the results end up with. So all the problems that we talk about in bad governance is because Obi, our chairman, a moderator, mentioned the cost of corruption, the cost of bad behavior. There's no cost to it. Mind you, it doesn't lie in the hands of Kiari, the man who sells clothes or helps people to buy clothes, the policeman who helps people to buy clothes. It doesn't lie in his hands. Many of us think it's in the hands of the police officer. No, the policeman can only investigate, arrest, and bring for prosecution. The man to decide the cost of the corruption is the judge. And what is it that we know? Nigeria has one of the greatest gateways to justice, but it's the eye of a needle for the camel to get out of it. And what do I mean? We spend forever in courts. And so what we find is that your justice is either delayed or your justice is absolutely bad. Now, that leads me to the next thing. It has encouraged impunity by everybody because, there's no cost what I'm doing. We do things and we say, you know what, you'll sue me. The worst case scenario, you sue me because I know I owe you money, all right? I'm your tenant. So don't let us talk of public officers. I am your tenant. I'm not paying my rent. You say I should pay. I say, I don't care. Go to court. I know that when you go to court, I'm going to string you up in litigation for the next 10, 15 years. And I'm not paying any rent. And then the court gives judgment in 15 years' time. And my rent, the money I'm owing you, I pay you the notional sum without taking into consideration the things that Bismarck would have talked about adjustment for inflation and devaluation and the value of money. So for me, the cheat, I'm okay. I'll go to court. I'll look you up there. Yeah, you get your judgment, but do you get real justice? So that encourages impunity in the private sector. And this is what Sean talks about the micro effect of corruption in the judiciary on our lives. But we're inured to it and we're not thinking about it. And I think we need to begin to think about it. So very quickly, big problem is it is a hurdle to investment. Every investor, every businessman wants that his contract that he enters into is enforceable. If you don't have a judiciary that is good, that is corrupt, contracts are not well enforced, what do? We don't rely, I don't invest. Other thing is that I do not really help people getting into a situation where the market is distorted. Efficiency is affected. What do you have? You have a situation where President Buhari could remove the Chief Justice of the Federation as if he was in Somalia, because that's what he did. Yeah, on again, we have been corrupt, but we have due process. And I'm not going to get into how he was removed. The last point I'll make as I run to the end of my speech is that on Tuesday, Justice Candy Johnson's retired, spoke about judicial independence and financial autonomy and showed how judges are now obsequious, are now timid because of corruption, and therefore we're not getting justice. And that is now becoming an end in itself. So we need to do something critical. We need to make sure we look at ways in which corruption in the judicial system is killed. Because without justice, there can be no peace. Without peace, there can be no society. Thank you, Obi.